No, no, no. And so we have a filter. Him and there. So yeah, I didn't know it was something else.
Was it like Sunday?
He has like a brain rat. He lived on that one. But I was like, there's not that many houses back there. That was up to trash.
Nope, you're good.
Got to the next, you know.
Oh, it is. Oh,
Well, I'm glad. All right, so we have up here some of our amazing agents that attended family reunion. I've got 5 basic questions to ask them. I don't mind what order we go in. I'm gonna ask the question and then just, if that question resonates with you, let's just answer. Great, sound good? I am gonna put Drew on the spotlight though. Great. Because of her Facebook post, we all wanna know the story. So we're gonna let Drew open. And then we're gonna go into our top 3 takeaways. Great. So Drew, let's go.
Why did I almost have a panic attack at family reunion?
Yeah.
Okay, so, some of my team knows a little bit of the story. I've never, raise your hand if you've been to family reunion or mega camp. Like lots of people, mega camp, yep. So I went to mega camp in August and, it was great. It was great. There were a few things I feel like I wasn't quite prepared for in family reunion, so that's one of the questions. Sorry, John.
You're good.
You'll get into it. But I would say that, so this was my first family reunion. It's my first time in Vegas. Who's been in Vegas? Kind of gross, huh? Viper and I were walking to the gym. People were just like smoking cigarettes, playing slots at 7 a.m. But we had a really great time at CEO Summit on Sunday. And there was a speaker, and his name was Rory Vader, and he was speaking on brand identity. Vaden?
Yeah.
Vader.
Like,
I know.
I don't know. So I won't take all of Rory's, but they might have some takeaways from that. So, where was I? Panic attack. So Rory Vader was great. He said something that really resonated with me, on Sunday. And then on Monday, which was really the first day of family reunion, we started with a breakout. Usually, I think often they start with like a main general session, but we started with a breakout. And I went to my first breakout and it didn't apply to me. And I was like, man, did I waste this time? And should I have gone to another one, you know, in switching? And so then I looked at my second breakout that I had scheduled, because I did all the things they tell you to do by planning it out in advance. I looked at the second one and I realized that one's not gonna apply to me either. And so I decided I was gonna switch it. I was gonna go to a different breakout. And so, I'm going to a different breakout. It was called The Magic or the Secret to Getting Anything You Want. Anybody else? Was anybody else in this one? So this one was, taught by Jay Papazan, who writes the 20%er blog, and Nikki Miller, who is the host of the One Thing podcast. And, I walked out of my first breakout, and I'll let John tell the enormity of the people. But there were so many people. Like I walked out and I was lost and there were so many people.
17,000. Like a
17.
purchase. To give perspective. And it felt like that.
And it felt like that. And they were all in one place and they were all like on top of you and you didn't know where you were going. So I didn't realize how overwhelmed I would get by the amount of people. But the other funny thing happened during that time is what happens to most of us on like a Monday morning in our business?
It's like setting out fires.
Everything's on fire. And the thing I think I hadn't prepared for with family reunion is that your business doesn't stop whenever you're there. So it was like full on Monday morning, the emails coming through, the text messages, Shannon and I were negotiating something. My phone was going off, my watch was going off, and I was like, the time change, I was so over, like, stimulated at that moment. And I was in a session about focus. I was in a session about focus. And I felt like the panic rise. It was when you guys were going to that Mexican restaurant. If anybody was like, I'm gonna run back to my room real quick, that was why. I started to feel my panic rise as they were trying to talk about focus and everything was happening around me. And I did something that I've never done before. I turned my phone off in that session. I just turned it off. Because at first I hit like silent, but my watch kept going. So I just turned it off. And allowed myself to focus. And, my biggest takeaway from this family reunion was a conjunction of Rory's talk on Sunday at the CEO Summit, where he talked about, if you have diluted focus, you will get diluted results. If you have diluted focus, you'll get diluted results. And he was talking about that in the frame of if you have diluted focus in your brand, if you're trying to focus on upsizers, downsizers, sellers, buyers, relocation, you're trying to do all of that, you'll get diluted results. But it resonated with me in that if I have diluted focus in my life, I'm gonna get diluted results in every area. So, in what areas of my business is my focus diluted? In what areas of my personal life, my health, my relationships, do I have diluted focus? And am I getting diluted results? And so I'd ask you to ask yourself that question. If you can't answer where you have diluted focus, ask yourself where you have diluted results. And you'll probably point back to diluted focus. So that was my biggest takeaway. That was why I almost had a panic attack. And, the secret, by the way, I told you that session, the secret to getting the magic of everything you want is focus. It really was. That's what it was about. Just
I
getting
love
clarity
that.
and focus.
I love that. That was actually my top takeaway too.
Really?
It was, because there's so many aspects of life that I could apply that to, of like, all right, I'm not happy with this outcome. It's because I don't have a lot of focus there. And doing that with yourself, it should be very eye-opening. You can get a lot of clarity. So thank you so much for sharing. One quick thing I do want to add. So CEO Summit is an add-on. So if you go to Family Reunion and there is the option for CEO Summit, or was there one at Mega Camp?
There was one at Mega Camp. To be clear, it's called CEO Summit. It's not just for CEOs. It's for small business owners, which all of you are.
Yeah.
Mega Camp was a little bit different. It was a lot more on hiring, which was really helpful for me. And this one applied to all business owners, I thought.
Right, in various aspects like branding, health, wealth, like it covered all the things, but it is an additional buy-on. It was my personal favorite part. Like I 110% recommend it.
Good.
Awesome. Anybody else want to share their takeaways? Michelle?
Yeah, I will. This was my first family reunion. I've been to 2 mega camps. This was my first family reunion. And all I knew going into it was that it was much larger. I didn't know 17,000. I did not. And like Drew, I was very overwhelmed with the the lines and the crowds and the walking like this. And I felt like you're in New York City waiting to, it was a lot. And there were some times where, everything that we learned was so empowering, but I too needed more breaks than what I thought. I just needed to.
I don't know about you, but I didn't notice it. I didn't feel the enormity as much, and it didn't bother me in the general sessions. It was like when we were transitioning in between things, we're trying to get coffee. That was
$10 coffee. We had bougie.
Hour and 30 minutes.
Great
coffee. Yeah.
Not a coffee drinker, so I'm sorry you guys experienced. I did not experience that part. But anyway, one of my so has anybody heard Mel Robbins talk before? She is awesome. So this was my second time seeing her in person, and I've read her book, I've listened to her podcast, and seeing her in person and her talking about her 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule resonated with me, I think, more than ever. So
What is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1?
yeah, so Mel talks about how in life we tend to, when we know we need to make a decision, we know we need to act on something, our first reaction is to, why should I not do this? What's the reason why I shouldn't do this? What's holding me back? Mel says, count back, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just do it. Just do it. Don't even think about it. First example, getting out of bed in the morning. The snooze button can be your best friend. It can be your worst enemy. So when you're trying to get out of bed in the morning, the first time you should really think or act on it is, what am I getting out of bed for today? What do I need to do? Do I have a plan? It is just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get out of bed and get your day started. What are you thinking about? Laying in bed? Or, you're thinking about, how do I want to get my day started? Are you a workout person? Do you just get started? Do you have that cup of coffee? So you have to stop and think, what's holding me back from making this decision? Even let's take it into our business, from going after that listing appointment. There's a house that expired that I really want to go after. What's holding me back? Why am I not calling that person? Why am I not going and knocking on their door?
I think the power of it too is like not even asking yourself those questions because it gives you the opportunity to overthink.
It does.
It's just,
does.
it's just.
Just count backward, and she makes the point of saying, don't say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not saying. You have to count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, and literally just do it.
Can I add on to that, Michelle?
Yeah.
Because I think the visual that she gave us in showing, she literally showed a rocket taking off.
Yeah.
And so it's the countdown of the rocket launching.
Right.
And so when I've been doing this, and that's how I envision myself, is like launching myself into action to do something that's going to get me a result that is better than me sitting here doing nothing.
Right.
And I think that visual for me was huge.
And counting backwards, because if you give yourself an extra second to think about it, you're gonna talk yourself out of whatever it is that you just thought you should do.
Right.
And it's usually, it's your benefit.
So that was one of my big takeaways, and that is something I'm going to implement more in my personal life. I've thought of, I've done it before, and then I get off track. But this just kind of reiterated that it truly does work. And when I think about it, and when I've just done it since we've been back from family reunion, it truly does work. So I invite you all just to try it at least once or twice.
What are
today.
some examples, like getting out of bed? What else have you done?
So-
I had one during, sorry, guys.
No, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah.
I had one during because like, we listened to Mel talk and I left there. I was like, I'm all inspired. What do I do? I gotta do something.
Yeah.
So I did it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and called a list appointment I had about 3 weeks ago. Called them just to see, and they had chosen a different agent, but I called them and was just like, hey, listen, I don't know if you guys have been thinking about reconsidering. They're like, you know what? We actually talked about it. We're gonna think on it for like a week or so. But that was like a super difficult conversation because I did not get the listing. But I was kind of like, if I don't do it now, I'm never gonna do it, and they're gonna listen to someone else, so we'll see. I'll details if I do get that listing.
Yeah, keep us posted.
Yeah.
One of the things that I appreciate that she said was, don't let fear rule your life.
Right.
And that counting down is to help you overcome that fear. Stop thinking about the fear, stop acknowledging the fear. Just do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, and
Yeah.
the science behind it is that where our habits lie, whether those habits are good or bad, are in our subconscious and they develop over time. That's why they call it a habit. So it's something that we oftentimes don't think about. It's a subconscious action. So when you are hesitating and taking action and what it does is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 scientifically moves that thought or that action into your frontal cortex. And what that does, that part of the brain, which is action, is oftentimes, there's all of this, which are my takeaways, are executive functioning, which for ADHD people, that's what we struggle with, but allowing that, it's almost like it just goes woof. And it's like, and that's to
But
me,
didn't she say also that once it does that, once you do it, it releases cortisol?
Yes.
Isn't that what it was?
Yes, and it was like-
releases the cortisol, because I don't know about you, but once I started doing it, I can keep doing it and do more of it, and I have
Right,
gotten
because
a lot of stuff done in the last
Yeah.
week since I've been back.
Well, and what it does is like when you start the process, scientifically, when you start the process of saying to yourself, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what have you already done? You've made the decision,
Because you started the countdown.
you started the count back. You already know, you're saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which means you're gonna do something about it. So it's like this, it's a really neat, like, flip of a switch that, I thought was one of the biggest takeaways. Absolutely.
I agree with you, though, that I have heard a lot of her stuff before, but seeing her, probably the same as what you guys are getting here, like, seeing her in person was just like 10x. You guys are getting, the
She's just dynamic because she's very real, she's very raw, and she's down to earth. So for her to sit, and she used the word marinate, that, in this, I've never heard somebody use the phrase, you know, you're laying in bed marinating like a rose, like, when, get up and just do it. But how many of us do that? I mean,
every day.
marinate like a rose.
I was just gonna say, on more of like a relational type perspective, I guess, with that same thing, and also like the science behind it. I don't know how long ago I heard the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 talk. It's probably been 5 years ago or something now. And when I did hear it, I definitely put it in action, but I put it into action for reacting to people. So meaning, like, for example, if I was like, in like a fight with my spouse or something, versus taking the habit where I was very reactionary and just kind of would maybe explode or something, and kind of that sort of thing, I would count down and it would calm myself and allow me to react appropriately.
Gives you a pause, yeah. Oh my gosh. Don't make me punch you like I did the vet.
For those that
I
are
didn't get
love
much.
to
I
read,
didn't get much.
the two books that Mel Robbins wrote that I think applies to the conversation we're having today. One is obviously the 5-second rule. And then I would also recommend the high five habit, because she talks about the science behind
Yeah.
how the brain functions, in both of those. But I found them to be very helpful and easy reads.
Yeah,
Right, in that high five habit, she teaches you that just to appreciate yourself more, and the high five habit is to high five yourself in the early morning. Right, getting ready in the morning, before you leave, before it's the last thing you do, just a high five to yourself. I got this, I got this.
What was that? You win data 6 comment, Tony Robbins said. He said, if you win data 6, don't keep your energy level at 6.
Yeah.
When you're at an open house or you're in front of people, you win data 6. Why should they work with you?
Oh, I love that. Why don't you talk about your ahas now, Ben?
Well, I have something to add what I got. The biggest thing I got from family reunion and any of those kind of conventions is whether it's marketing or branding or what you do, even like day-to-day stuff. Rory said something, you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. So as far as marketing, nobody thinks about you more than you think about you. So you need to get out of your way and just that imposter syndrome where you think like, I don't know if I can add enough value. You could have Mel Robbins say something, you could have someone else say something, and then you could have someone in your office say something, but it's gonna hit a little differently on each person. And I think being relatable is super important. So for marketing wise, who were you once were that you can help someone in the future?
That one hit me too. I had like 2 real life examples in that,
Well, you led a panel on it.
I did leave a handle on it, but one was around, that statement. I was a buyer and my real estate agent like hadn't explained any of the process to me or how I was supposed to pay her or anything like that. And towards the end of my transaction, I remember how much like anxiety I had around that, about not knowing. And again, now I'm powerfully positioned to serve who I once was in explaining to first-time home buyers. And, most of my job now is hiring. And when I don't know about the rest of you, but when I started as an agent, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. The real estate classes taught me how to pass a test, not how to find a client, And so it just helped me remember who I was whenever I first started and, the people that I could serve now.
When I think the imposter syndrome where you're like, am I gonna add enough value that I'm going to be beneficial? But like, I don't think that people are looking for the perfect way to do something. I think they're looking for someone who's been there, done that, and can guide them in the mistakes they made. So like with branding wise, people, you need to show your authentic self because you're relatable to someone out there.
I loved when he said, the calling on your heart is the result of a signal being sent out by someone who needs you.
I love how Brittany like transcribes everything that everybody. Best.
Yeah.
The best notes.
She sent me this one, and then when we went to, Ben and I went to, which one was it, the branding session, that was like one of our, I think the second.
Yeah.
Rory's. And Brittany sent this to me, because that's just who Brittany is. She said, find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. And I found that was my biggest takeaway, that sometimes I think that it feels, because we own our own businesses, because we're self-employed, that we are this little island. And the biggest takeaways that I had, that were out of 17,000 people, 99% of whom I didn't know, I felt so supported, connected where I wanted to be connected, and yet I had the ability to take time with myself amongst 17,000 people. I was in a place where I could still, which to me is like more of a personal, I would say not business, but more of a personal takeaway for me. Was that among 17,000 people, we have an ADHD community, we have a sobriety community, we have wellness, we have, oh my gosh, leadership, we have luxury, we have, it was like the everything, every possibility of seeing any particular breakout. And I didn't have to fit in a box. And so it was really an empowering thing for me. Where was I going with that? Rory to me was one of my biggest, huge, I spoke with their branding company, and the wealth of knowledge with them was huge. And again,
That's who was in that picture that I posted.
yeah, Rory,
I
yes.
saw him and I was like, we're gonna do this. Just like Adrian, oh, where's Adrian?
He's the.
Adrian almost lost her job.
All the celebrities.
Yeah.
Adrian almost lost her job to get a selfie with Jason Abrams.
She left me hanging. I had to save 18 seats. I had to save 18 seats, guys. It is Hunger Games getting into the general session. And I'm doing everything. And I just start like throwing all my personal belongings, hoping I get them back on chairs to reserve for our group. And people start moving my stuff to take my chair.
Wow, man.
And then Adrian finally comes strolling along. She's like, I saw Jason. And I was like, you're lucky, because I understand the crash, it's okay. But we were 2 seats short.
Sorry, Matt and Dave.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go hang out with that. Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
So for me, it was a completely different thing for me at this event, because hey, if I go to like a Penn State game and there's 110,000 people, I'm mentally prepared, it's fine, it's easy, no big deal. I was not mentally prepared for the amount of people here. So I have, like personal mental issues where if I don't know where I'm gonna sit, I don't know where I'm supposed to be, I don't know where the next class is, I struggle. I mean, you can ask Taylor on an elevator, she was trying to talk to me, I was like, I cannot talk to people right now. Like I literally said that I can't physically have a conversation, because I have to focus on where I'm going. I remember a point in time where I was walking to go to a class and I was on the one side of the casino and I'm looking at like thousands of people go this way. I just went left and went upstairs and slept. Like it was a mental struggle for me at a point in time. They're like, so for me, some of the big things, get there early. Like I got there Saturday morning. So I had time to kind of figure out where I was going, figure out where. I never waited that long for Starbucks because I planned real good for coffee. But to make sure I understood where I was going, so getting there early was big. Renting a car for myself was really big, because I like to have that freedom. Because if you're, let's say, Ashley, Adrian, Brittany, like, and you're an employee there and it's a job and you're working, you're literally stuck in a cement box that is ginormous for 5 days. Like fresh air is not a big option. You can get it, but it's not.
Not in Vegas.
The air in the hotel was very.
It's good for you.
But you know what I'm saying? I mean, you know what I'm saying, Brittany? Like, So I ended up going to 2 classes. The first one I went to, I ended up finding a coach. So that was my biggest takeaway.
That's like my.
Yep. With her-
Class on that, like,
Branding.
do that, it was on branding.
And it was on branding and basically learning more about Facebook groups, which is what my biggest goal is going to be for this year. But she sent me the same thing about uniqueness, and the coolest thing about that comment was like, I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, we're all different. God made us all different, and not a single person in this room is the same. And the people that I reach out to, or that reach out to me because of my social media, and not just because of work, because of my sobriety or whatever, like, that's why I'm unique and different.
And there's no need to be jealous, and there's no need to be like envious of anybody else's gift, because it's like, and that's what made me feel supported. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No.
It just made me feel like we all have a gift to give, and it is such an incredible blessing. It is not something that I need to go, oh my gosh, like, for the longest time, I felt like I needed to do this thing. I'm gonna cry, like everybody else, and if I didn't, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't, it's just it's very deep, that goes. But, it felt like, for the first time, that I'm like, I don't have to do it any other way but my way.
Yeah.
And my way is good enough, and my way is freaking badass. And so is John's way, and I will do everything to support John. I would do anything to support anybody in this room to do it their way, because what are we doing? We're in the service of others.
And we all supported each other like the whole time. Like, I knew, I would text Amy like, are you doing okay today?
Yeah.
Cause like,
Yeah.
there's a beer garden. Well, we're not going to the beer garden. I'm not going to the beer garden. Like,
No.
what do you want to do instead? We all went out to dinner and did something completely different because we're there to support each other and do different types of things. But I can tell you, I walked into Tony Robbins and I had no idea there was that many people there. Like, I didn't know what was about to happen. I walked in this room like, ugh, 1,000 people, you know. I walked in,
And there's dancers and music.
And I just woke up from a nap, so. It was an In-N-Out burger nap, just so everybody knows, but I just walked in this room and it was tough. Mentally, it was tough for me.
I just found the quote that I wrote down that was around being uniquely you, which I think, I mean, we're literally all doing the same thing in this room, literally every one of us. And he said, don't differentiate yourself based on what you do. Don't differentiate yourself based on what you do, but based on who you are. Because we are all different, right? We might all do relatively the same thing, maybe in different ways, right? But we are all different people. And he said, there's lots of people who do what you do, but there are none who are who you are. Which was really powerful.
I gotta take away from that. So I heard a quote a long time ago that was like, people hate to be sold, but they love shopping with friends. So in a tactical sense, you may think this is what the world wants us to see. They want to see me out selling houses. They want me, but they just want to see you. Like, they just want to feel connected. It's a relationship business. And now we can do that through social media and build an even bigger net. But, you know, if I start talking about rental properties or something like that, that might affect somebody. And I feel silly doing that because I don't consider myself an expert. But to someone, if it just gives them the tools to reach out and start Googling stuff or something like that, it will benefit them in the future.
Love that.
So kind of the same theme, sensory overload. However, I want to say that Adrian and Brittany, oh my gosh. My first time going to family reunion, my first time going to any major event with this team here. I'm new to, you know, Keller Williams. I say new. I've been with Keller Williams for 2 years, but I've only done part-time, so I have a full-time job, which I just told my boss this January, I'm done this year, so December. I needed to launch myself into something big, and when I saw family reunion, I was like, yep, this is it. I'm going, I'm doing it. I need to build relationships. I need to know who's here. You know, and so it was amazing. Thank you. But what I got out of it was to stop, and I know you guys have heard this before. This is new to me. Stop. What is it? Stop being ready. Well, no, stop getting ready to get ready to get ready. Like, just do it. So I decided that in January, I'm done with my full-time, my salary gig. But it's time to go. So one of the things that, came from family reunion was everybody that was around me, as soon as they heard, I'm part-time, everybody asked, hey, what are you doing? Where are you from? What state? Really great stuff. And when I explained to them, like, what I was doing, they were like, you got this. I can't wait for you to shine. It was amazing, the support, like every single person. And I met so many coaches that gave me a nugget, and I'm like pulling out my notebook and writing it down. I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. So I can't even share everything I have because it's so much. But it's so worth it. And it did feel like family, 100% felt family. So I'm excited I made the decision to go, and I dragged my husband along too, so.
He was a trooper.
He was, he was great, he loved it too, so.
I look at family reunion conventions more on like, you're not gonna get any tactful, like, this is what you need to do to succeed, but you're self-investing. So you're gonna come up with a ton of little ideas that get put into bigger ideas, that get put into bigger ideas. Cause like, I went with the idea of starting Facebook groups and doing all this other stuff. And there was no class on like, this is exactly what you do, then you do this, but you get little ideas that in 3 months from now will help you along that journey. And it's more, the people, the culture at Keller Williams and also at this conventions they're willing to give so much. And like, I stayed after with all the instructors and I was like, I'm getting some extra inside. And the one guy, he runs a mega team and he gave me 45 minutes and we went over scripts and we just talked about different things, so.
Yeah, I think oftentimes it's not just the panels that you go to, but it is the conversations that you have outside of those panels that you can't get from here, just watching the recap.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, to the person who says, I've been to mega camp or family reunions before, I would say that every time that I go, I get something different. And probably like Ben, I'm like, I'm paying a lot of money right there to get the thing that I probably already know I need, right? But how much does that propel you forward, everything that you got and learned there?
It moved a lot of stuff up in priority list.
For sure.
Yeah.
And whether that's actually, if you can put a monetary value on that, I don't know, but I can.
Yeah, I didn't expect to walk away with a coach. Like that was not an expectation, no intention, not at all. And I will tell you though,
We learned that Vegas makes you do weird stuff.
The one other thing, if you do go to family reunion and you think you're gonna go to a class looks like it might be pretty popular and you show up right on time, don't expect to get in. Cause I tried to get into 2 different classes that I showed up 5 minutes before it started or right as it started and there was no room.
Yeah.
And they weren't letting people stand. So,
Yeah. So what did everybody implement?
Well, first I want to tell an experience I had.
Oh, yeah.
at home.
Please do.
Yeah,
have a whole experience.
I will. So we, some of us flew back together. 4 of us flew back together. 5. Well, one got on a different plane. I was just gonna say. They went to a different place.
Shannon sent me the flight details. I opened it. I didn't open the full thing. I didn't realize they were flying Southwest. I was flying Spirit. I just booked the same time frame.
Same
And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm the only one flying the Spirit? Did that myself.
Plane was a lot slower. 3 hours later.
But anyway, so we are boarding the plane and all that's left are middle seats. And we're walking down the aisle and of course I have anxiety about that. You certainly did. Because where am I gonna sit? Where am I gonna sit?
Shannon saved me a seat.
He made me save a very
Right.
specific seat. Trust me, we were good.
So I'm walking down the aisle and there's all middle seats left and the crowd stops and I stop next to this man who's sitting there. And he said, would you like to sit in the seat next to me? And I said, sure. And he said, I'll put your bag up top if you'd like. And I thought, that's really nice. Sure. So I sat down between he and the woman at the window and John, as of walking by, says, oh, good, I didn't want to sit by her anyway. We don't like each other. And the guy just looked at me and I said.
Don't ask.
Yeah, work thing.
I can't, he's here.
So I said, just, yeah, he's going back there. So anyway, I sit down and I said, yes, so we're work colleagues, we're realtors, we were here for a conference, and he said, oh, so were we? And I said, oh, are you Keller Williams? Yes. Here, this man has a 96-person team that is based all over, he's based out of Ellicott City, Maryland, but has offices in Washington State, Florida. And so he's a mega team, obviously. So I sat down next to him, and for the next 3.5 hours, we just talked and talked and talked. And he got out his yellow pad and was making notes, and we were just having the neatest conversation. And I just happened to sit right next to him. And this was where I had to use my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You know, we had a great conversation. We ended with, when we get back and get settled, he asked me, he said, I'd love to sit down with you and your team to see what you guys do compared to us. And I thought, we're a 7-person team. What? And he said, no, we can always take something away from each other. So yesterday morning, right when I got in the office, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, sent him an email, when are we meeting? And within 5 minutes, he emailed me back. And his team and my team are meeting tomorrow at 11 by himself.
Minus John.
Yeah. I knew I was missing something earlier, I look.
She said 1 o'clock, John, 1 o'clock.
I mean, and that's where this culture, he was so willing to just talk to me, a rainmaker of 7 versus 96. And when I told him that, I wanted to do this and this by the end of the year as far as investing, just got out a yellow pad of paper and just started saying, okay, well, here's what I think you should do, and just gave me everything that he had. It was. So we're gonna be all meeting tomorrow.
But that's not just there, that's how everybody was.
Everybody.
Exactly what he did.
And we also got better relationships within our own team of people, and like knowing you can be real, that something's not going great, and you have another person to share it with.
Yeah, for sure. So what are we?
Coaching.
Yep, I started, listening to Gene Shaw, because I saw him there. Almost done with Tribe of Millionaires, which is an accountability book. And then Dual Career Blueprint, I'm signed up for that tomorrow evening.
That makes my heart sing. That's awesome.
I'm taking a class with, Nikki Miller again, I think it's next week, about implementing a 411. That I don't have in our business right now. So, hopefully implementing 411 and 543. All mine are all numbers, 411.
Mine is definitely going back to the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with Mel Robbins, and listening to more of her podcasts and just implementing that. Stop second guessing myself and making decisions.
I'm ditto. But I think that mine was more of a personal implementation of things, and then also giving myself permission to explore other opportunities within real estate that might not be transactionally focused. So I'm really excited about that, growing my network there, and definitely 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and all the fun stuff. There's so much. If anybody has any more, wants to like sit down and like talk about stuff, I'd love that. Love that.
Mine would be the Facebook community pages, because there's 3 that I want to start, along with the VIP page. And then, of course, I'll get that help from the coach.
What was the trigger for you that you were like, I need to sign up for MAPS coaching?
I don't have a filter, so I make quick decisions, so I don't really know what that would be.
Well, this
But
was probably one of the best quick
Yeah.
decisions.
You just walked in, you were like, "Why did I do this
well, I
sooner?"
went to one class the first morning, and I loved what they talked about, and they kept talking about community pages, which I've been wanting to do for a while, and my podcast, Zach and my podcast has been doing extremely well. And it's about the class was about branding, and I need help. And I'm not gonna get help. No offense to the people in this room, but that's not what I need for help. It doesn't work that way. It's kind of like for me to eat better. When I lost weight last year, I had to pay somebody. Keller's been telling me how to eat for years. You don't want to hear it. So I had to pay for it. So for me, like the ability and whether it's, and she made it, made it very comfortable for me. She's like, John, whether it's 3 months, 9 months, a year, whatever it is, I want to get you to these next levels when it comes to your self-branding and doing these things. Leslie Jackson, she called me yesterday. We start tomorrow. Yeah. Actually, yeah, so. So she put it in my calendar. It says 1, but she did it from. So what time? I don't know. What time.
Email, hit the email button and. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That class was on Facebook marketing and Facebook groups, so that's why they kept bringing it up.
Oh, it
But-
was, yeah, it was a great class.
And honestly, that class more out of Facebook groups was more about relationships.
Yeah.
My biggest thing that I'm gonna take away was you don't have to be good at everything. You just have to be really good at a few things. And like one bite at a time, because it's overwhelming to look at a big thing. But if you start with just one task, one thing you want to work on, once that's perfected, move on to the next one. It's funny because you see these people who do everything say that and you're like, but you can't get to that without starting somewhere.
Well, and you look, it's like anybody. It's like sometimes when you see a brilliant musician and they are like really talented at the piano, and then they try and teach the basics to someone and they can't. Because they're already here, or you can't see the little tiny effort that the thousands of hours that they spent getting to that point. And just to understand that if you can just consistently do those small little things, you will get there. It's not an if, it's just a when.
10,000 hours.
I was.
mastery.
10,000
hours in the industry.
Wasn't there like a study that did something for like
10,000
no, for like
hours.
15 minutes a day or whatever, and then that equates to 10,000 hours in the span of, forget how long.
Long time.
Well, what did John Maxwell say at our, John Maxwell event? If you want to do what I do,
You have to do.
you have to do what I do. Right?
Well, it also goes back to that diluted comment, because if you're diluting what work you do, if you're doing a little bit of this, and then a little bit more marketing, and then a little bit more open houses, why not just commit to one really good
Really good.
source and then move on to the next one?
Yeah, like George said, focus, right?
Yeah. So we kind of touched on this with all the anxious talk that happened to come up, but what would you do, knowing what you know now, what would you do different next time you go to mega camp, or more specifically family reunion? Because it is that much bit, like, and what I'm hearing as a leader is we didn't prepare you well for how much larger family reunion was than mega camp. Like, I think Nate and I threw out there like 18,000 people which are coming.
Yeah, but
I don't think,
I don't think, to be fair, you didn't fail us in any way
No,
there.
I
I'm
don't
with
think
John,
so either.
I'm with John, and
No.
I've been to how many Penn State games, and I've never felt like I did there. I think that, I think it's different.
I think if people knew how to walk.
Well, yeah.
I have a different answer for like what I would have done differently. So I would have prepared my business better before leaving,
that's helpful.
I definitely would have done that better. I don't know why I didn't. I think it was helpful. The other thing is I realized afterwards, and probably it's with a focus, is to give myself permission to be okay with just getting one thing. Like if I could just get one thing, because you're there and you're taking all the notes and you're like, I'm away from my business. I spent all this money. I'm here that I'm supposed to be learning everything. And so you want to try to take advantage of so much, but it often is overwhelming. So if I could do it again, I would give myself permission to just get one really good thing and do it well.
I love that. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think mine definitely was I should have been there just to focus on me and bringing back more for my team and myself. And I too was distracted in many, many different areas. As you know, you sat next to me one morning. You know, letting the business from here, as we still have to take care of it. But I needed to keep reminding myself, I'm here for a purpose, and my purpose is to learn so I can take back as much as I can for me and my team and everybody else here. So, yeah, I need to remember that I have one job while I'm here.
Yeah.
For 3 days, and it's to be focused on this, so I can bring back all of that.
Also has some fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
That's lots of fun.
We did.
Ten people go to Vegas and he rents a Corvette.
So while John, you know, he had a Corvette, and like a Porsche, and he drove around and saw all the things in Vegas. Part of, you know, that, if you want to be able to have an experience to his level, and if you want to go to family reunion at all, you know, Drew just mentioned, like, it would have been helpful to have a savings plan. Like, don't wait until the month before to be like, right now I need to pay for my $900 ticket. You know, everybody up there said, definitely buy the CEO summit ticket, which was like another $400. I gotta pay for my flight, which is, you know, $1,000, and then I gotta pay for the hotel room on top of it.
Well, I did have a free flight with
Well,
my points, which is why I
Yeah,
decided. to get the
I
car.
did it on discount, like I found my ticket on a Facebook group, like
So did I,
yeah, like
You'll get
Yeah,
like
there's-
free.
I don't feel like
Are you in master?
I feel like I probably will 10x my investment that I put into it. It doesn't make it any easier when you're hitting add to cart.
Right.
Like knowing that now, it doesn't make it any easier when you're hitting add to cart. So if you know about how much, let's say it's $3,000 to go, how can I save that per transaction?
Yeah.
Right.
I wish I would have done that.
And do you need to increase your transaction fee? I mean, when I was a buyer's agent on Dayfolk's team, single mom, I had barely, and like, I mean, I went through my savings and my 401k, right, to be able to go into real estate full time. And we had an opportunity to go to Arizona, life-changing event for me as an agent with the Dayfolk team. And what the Dayfolk team allowed me to do was increase my transaction fee by just $100. And they put that aside for me, and that is what paid for my trip to Arizona. And that's how painless it can be to go to mega camps, to go to family reunion.
Yeah.
There are ways you can
I
save.
think about, Eris, I think was the one who was speaking around a minimum commission. Is that right?
501.
Right, so, right, and so like, what if I could go through the pain of, if I could do that and get through that and have that money set aside, that extra set aside for it?
You can also find the one slot machine that hits a jackpot. I bet $20 while I was there, won
I
1,500,
need to
so.
do that.
Did you
I got-
really?
Oh, yeah, one slot machine, put it in, ching, ching, ching,
I got to
jackpot.
give my
Walk the
gambling
hell out.
money to a family with a 5-year-old with cancer.
You got to do
because
what?
I didn't. I got to give my gambling money away.
I may have.
Gambling money?
Because I feel like you had to have cash. I didn't know I had to take cash. I was like,
That's good karma.
It was really good. I forgot he was in the room.
So for me, like some mom tips, right? This is like definitely the mom in me. Like, you need to have snacks on you,
Mhm.
right? Because it's not guaranteed, like, even if you give yourself a break, it is not guaranteed you're gonna get lunch from the
No, and that protein bar was $9 that I.
Right, yeah, so what we did, and thanks to John, because he had a car, he took us to Walmart on Saturday, we stocked up on snacks. Thanks to the company, they paid extra for a refrigerator for me in my room, so I could have like the stuff I needed for my dietary restriction. But that made all the difference, like I always had a protein shake in my backpack, some snack bars. I could go to my room and make my own coffee, because I bought my own K-cups. Like,
Yeah.
even thinking about making sure you have Tylenol in your backpack, like Band-Aids, because people get paper cuts, right? Like, just think, what would my mom pack? What would my mom pack for me right now if I was 7? And like, that's what you need to bring with you.
A lot of walking.
And wear good shoes.
Because if I bought 3 coffees, it was $22.
Yeah.
So we did the Keurig thing in our room and like I bought a Coleman cooler for $25. Fill that thing with ice. Put yogurts and fruit and all sorts of jazz in it.
Yeah, so we could easily just go up to our hotel room and we had food if you couldn't get lunch out. So that would be mine. We have 5 minutes left. Anything that you didn't get to say that you wanted to say today?
I think you don't see the results. It sounds like a lot of money. It sounds like a lot of time. It sounds like a lot. But you don't see the results from a convention until years later. And I think, I don't know, myself, I've been to a lot of conventions and I've never regretted it. I might not get something right away, but being at my stage in career, I'm looking back and like, oh, wow, you know what? I learned that from that convention. It's more investing in yourself. So I think as much as we're saying how it's like super huge and overwhelming and everything like that, I think you get out what you make of it.
Yeah.
Like, and if you struggle with that kind of stuff, you don't have to go to all the classes. I mean, you can go to a couple.
I would agree with you about the years later, and I know I got results from my one thing at Mega Camp. We talked about our one things at Mega Camp, and I got instant results because I took instant action on it.
Well, and like, I had a conversation with a guy about, we were scripting, we'd go back and forth, and he said something, and I was like, man, I started implementing that, and I'm gonna start converting a lot more referrals. So right there, how much is that worth for 10 years, you know?
I was joking.
But, yeah.
I was joking that I was like, I'm gonna win $40 million while I'm in Vegas. I'm like, 40 million, that was my number. I was like, I'm gonna look for the full things and I'm gonna be like, whatever says $40 million, I'm gonna put 20 bucks in, pull that lever, want $40 million. And then I didn't. Surprisingly.
Still here.
Yeah, or something. I know, like, I'm like, so, but I thought to myself, well, maybe it was that family reunion was supposed to make me $40 million.
There you go.
So I had a different perspective. It was really cool. And I felt like, for people that dream big, anybody dream big? Yeah, we all have different versions of what that means.
Yeah.
But for me, I felt like I was not looked down on for dreaming big. And, I felt like I was in a lot of rooms with a lot of really smart people who all dreamt big. And they don't all look the same. They don't all do the business the same. And it was like, I just felt like, oh, this is it. This is what I needed. And that to me is invaluable. Invaluable.
So if you're gonna go, you need to go to Nate, because he prepared me.
Yes.
For certain things. I made a goal, he said, make a goal before you go, and I'm like, oh gosh, okay. So my goal was to collect 50 business cards, 50 contacts, and put them into command. I made it to 47. My 47th was on the plane. Over at the lady. So I 3 more, but that's okay. And then the other thing is just be strategic about exactly what you want to get out of, family reunion. So I had to think about that. And really, because I feel like I'm a newbie, it was lead generation. So every lead generation class that was on there, you know, like whatever hour it was, that's what I was going to, just to get that one thing. And now I feel like I'm solid, especially with command. I'm like excited that I know how to use like a lot of tank functions. I'm like, oh my gosh, you can do this on here? Oh my gosh, you can do that? So, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And Drew made us look good. She was on a lead generation panel. She killed it, and I was around a bunch of people that are going, oh my God, she's so good. She's sassy and smart, and all that. It's like, know her. So she killed it.
He's with you.
Yeah.
I spent my guys on either side of me. That made me look a little bit better.
That one guy too, and I was like, you go, girl. Bam. She had great ideas, so.
Anything else? Yeah.
Well, for implementation, the overwhelming theme I got from the reunion from all the speakers was like focus, and relationship building, whether that's through social media or branding yourself. Kind of like the one analogy that caught with me was like, Red Bull doesn't focus for branding wise and marketing. Red Bull doesn't have pictures of their cans. They have what you can do with the cans, what you can do with the energy. So like branding wise, I mean, like we don't sell, like there's pictures of the kitchen, right? But that's not emotional. I mean, people could say it's a nice, but like, what can you do with that kitchen? So like, a lot of the big people were using branding to kind of get across their message. And that was getting them more traction on social media, getting them more traction with relationships, and like using Facebook groups and all sorts of other stuff. But those were like the two big things, branding and like focus.
Love that. All right, I'm gonna leave, you all with 3 questions to ask yourself. This is for the whole room, and then I will have Nate, is that okay? If Nate, you could just share my notes with everybody. If anybody on the panel, if you are willing to share your notes, we can just all email our notes to Nate. He can share them with everybody in the room. But the 3 questions, I'm gonna like try not to cry, 'cause I'm a little emotional, but the questions, this is from Rory, like,
still tired.
yeah, we are so,
Yeah.
like a toddler who did not get enough naps, that's how I feel. Yeah, so what tragedy have you triumphed over? What setback have you survived? And because of that, who can you serve in the deepest way? Absolutely. So what tragedy have you triumphed over? What setback have you survived? And because of that, who can you serve in the deepest way? Ed?
Hey, Brittany, I didn't go to the family reunion, obviously, but I did watch the inspirational breakfast. And anybody watched that, they could say, I think, see what Keller Williams is about. Nobody mentioned that up here, but that was, to me, that would have been the highlight.
I
See
love
the
that.
money they gave, what they did for people.
Thank you.
Says a lot about the company.
I just feel like this is so timely. This morning, I had 2 friends reach out to me and they decided last minute that they were gonna do an event, to support a local ministry in Camp Hill at 10/28. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. But what they do is, and I think with us being realtors, it's really amazing, is a community conscious movement that helps people find their way in life. It gets them out of addiction. And then they have the goal of moving people from poverty to stability in their community. So if anyone is available and would like to, Sunday night at 5 and 6, they are offering Latin dance classes out of N Studios to support this ministry. And it was a last minute thing, and they're like, right now, we have nobody showing up. And so if anybody wants to
Be a
come
bunch of.
support this, it's $20 per class, and all of the proceeds go directly to that ministry. They're not keeping a penny, but right now they have nobody.
Where is this?
It's in Hershey, right behind the Hershey outlet. It's called M Studios. It would be a great way for us to go out and say we support our communities.
Mariah, could you put all the details of that in the Facebook group for us?
Definitely,
That's awesome.
yeah.
It's so
I
good.
would love to cause I said, I'll see if I can find anybody to come, and then I'm here today going, oh gosh, there's a whole room.
There's a
full of
whole
people.
room full of
Yeah.
people. Yeah, yeah, and I think another question you can ask yourself is like, when can I do that? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? When can I do that in my life? Brittany had to run and asked me to see if anybody has any extra questions or comments.
What was the last thing?
Were the other
What was the
questions?
last one?
2 other ones.
Oh, and, oh my gosh.
Where can you
Who
serve?
can you serve in
In the
that?
deepest way.
And the deepest way.
Other questions?
I can vouch for M Studios. I took a class with Mariah, just random, and, it was awesome. The people were just delightful. We had so much fun, so don't feel awkward. We were just talking about dancing without cold. All
right, give them a round of applause.
For all of you to say that if anybody has any personal questions about anything that you heard here today, I'm sure all of us are available. Speaking, so you don't want to speak. No, not. Tattoos are expensive in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's awesome.
He just went.
I was.
Yeah.
That's what I had to
Yeah, it's fun time. My kids are like, they are so happy. So, yeah.